Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Okay. Hi Emily. So thanks for agreeing
Hello.
to do this with me. We've obviously spent a load of time together over the last few years, and this will be a nice opportunity, I suppose, to learn from the kind of journey you've been on and what you've learned along the way. That's the whole idea of the Warrior Code is all athletes like you guys that play sport for a living, you guys put yourselves in a very vulnerable position every time you compete. It's win or lose, and everybody's there to see it. And I think you have to have a fairly strong set of values and principles to be able to live through that on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And I suppose the whole idea of this chat is to learn about those values and the principles that you play by and train by, and see if people can learn from it. So I suppose the first question I'd probably have for you would be, in your career to date, when was the first time you can ever remember like having a big learning moment in terms of how to deal with either a big victory or a big loss?
I've had a big victory, a big loss. I think the loss is obviously what's closest to me at the moment, but I've had to go through a lot of different mindsets. Like my mindset's been brought up in Denmark is very black and white. It's like you're good or you're not good. Like you're on the LPGA or you're not on the LPGA. Like it's very black and white. And I had to learn actually already at the end of last year that it's such a hard transition for me to learn that you can be a good golf player without being on the LPGA, because I obviously lost my card, and I'm still working on this year. Like when we sat down and we made a plan for this year. We actually made like what we call a masterpiece. Is like, what do we want to gain from this year? And I said that when we go on December 31st of 2020, I want to be a professional golfer. And I know that sounds silly because I've been a professional for 6 years, but what does it actually mean to be a professional golfer? It means that you wake up every morning, you have a plan for the day, you have a plan for the week. You don't, it's a work, you take things seriously, you reach out for help when you need to, and you put in the hard work. And it's like, there's such a big difference from just changing from being an amateur to being a professional. It's easy to just change your status. Anyone could do that. But what does it take to actually become a professional? And this is what I wanted this year. And that's what I learned, that you need to change your own behavior and you need to start with yourself. It's not me being on the LPGA is not going to make me a better golfer. I need to become a better golfer before I can be on the LPGA.
That's a really good one, because I think you can be a professional. You can be a professional and still be an amateur, and you can be a professional and still be an amateur. Be professional, still be an amateur. If you know what I mean.
Exactly.
It's like
it's all about your state of mind and your like the way you go into every practice, the way you go home from every practice, the way you rest, the way you eat, the way you train, the way you take time off. It's all about that, because as you say, you can be an amateur and have a professional mindset, and you can be a professional and have an amateur mindset.
Yeah.
And that's been a big thing for me to learn after having 2-3 years like really low and really in probably the worst place I've been on and off the course. But that's the thing I wanted to gain from this year.
And going back to like your amateur days, and you obviously had some like really big successes as an amateur. Like you were top 3 in the world rankings at one stage. Is that right? And
yeah.
When you look back on those days, what was the keys to your successes? And like, in terms of, not necessarily in terms of this, the scores you shot, but like, where was your head at back then? And how did you view tournaments, and how has that changed over the years? Like, you sitting here now as a professional.
Yeah, I think as an amateur, it was like I always, or very early on, wanted to become a professional. So the mindset was, I need to get better. I need to work harder. I need to fix this. It was all the process of getting better. And along the way, I won a lot, and it made it made more sense to me in my practice, because all right, it's working, but I never had to stop and think like, is this the right thing to do? And I'm not saying things came easy to me, but they did a little bit. And then I think after the Solheim, and then I turned pro, and it was like still about getting better. I need to learn to be a pro. I need to learn to win. I need to get onto the Solheim. And then I did these things. Then I had a lot of bad critic about the Solheim, and then suddenly my mindset changed, and it became about proving myself. I need to prove that I'm good enough. I need to prove that I'm good enough. And that took me 2.5 years, almost up to the end of last year, to figure out it's still about getting better. It's still about working hard. It's still about developing every day. It's still about becoming the best golfer I can be. It's not about proving myself. I need to prove myself to myself, to my team, to the people around me every day, by working hard, by doing the things we agree on, by being honest about how do I feel about this. It's not about proving myself, because it's just about.
And when you was it always, when you were an amateur, was it always the milestone down the road that drove you to want to prove yourself, the next battle that you were going to enter into? And then was that the driving force, the thing that drove you on to play? And how did you handle every time you reached one of those milestones? So how did you handle, like, say for example, when you left the amateur game and turned pro and got on the LET and stuff? And was that the pulling force, those things that you were aiming for?
Yeah, it was. I always wanted more. And actually looking back, sometimes I'm thinking, why didn't you celebrate that a little more? Or why didn't you actually pat yourself on the back a little bit more for winning the big events? Because I always just wanted to more and more and more, and forward and strive, where it's like, okay, hold up. Actually just say, good job. Like, it was never good enough for me.
Right.
When I was an amateur. So I was always striving for more.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that might have given me a fake kind of confidence. I didn't take the time to say, hey, good job, Emily, and get that really in myself. That's good work. You've done good.
Yeah.
So like when all the bad hit me, and when the first time I was struggling, I didn't have that confidence like in myself to say it was hard work, because it was only based off the results. Like I had such an identity crisis, because if I didn't play good, well, what was I? Like, since I was up till I was 14 till I was, I think, 19, I'd won multiple times every season I've played. So I had that constantly winning feeling. And then suddenly I've not had that for 3 years. And it's like, what is this? Does this mean, am I now not a good person anymore?
It's an interesting one as well, where like you were winning and that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Like it's when even victories don't mean anything to you because it's not good enough. So if you do, like, if you go, and as you go to higher levels, maybe the winning rate's going to fall off naturally. So it must have been very difficult then, when you go from winning multiple times and feeling like it's not good enough, to go from having a year without any victories and maybe struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it was really hard, because I thought that winning was what was defining me, that was what defined if I was doing great or not. But it's not what defines me. What defines me is the work I put in. Is if I look myself in the mirror and say, you've done good today, or
Yeah.
today was good. Like, being honest, you can be happy. because it's also harder when you get onto the LPGA, when you get professional. These girls all work hard. They're all sacrificed a lot. They've all, you know, been in the game for a long time. They're good players, so you're not going to win as often as you might be as an amateur, because
Right.
there's so many players. So you need to be able to have something else than a win to be like, you can't just, it's not just a win that defines you if you're good or not. You have to be able to look at, how am I developing my putting? How am I developing my long game? How am I doing with my wedges? Have I put the work in? Am I developing physically? Am I developing mentally? Am I taking enough time off the rest? Stuff like that is what needs to be the building stone in yourself. That's like, this is what defines if I've done good, if I'm good, if I'm happy with myself. Not the result, because I can have my best week, but let's say someone else has the best week and they don't win. Does that mean that I've not done good this week? Let's say I'm 23 under. I've done everything I should. I've developed in all the areas we've worked on. I've gained 2 shots on my putting. I've gained on the long game, but someone just gained a little bit more that week. That doesn't mean that it's not a good week for me, and that I've not done good. So it has to come from within, like the approval and the accept and the pat on the back, and not from outside, because it's a tough world to have people. No one's going to pat you on the back when it's golf. Only yourself.
And that's really, I can imagine that it must have taken a lot of work and time for you to get to the point where you're at now, where it sounds like you're in a much better space where you can actually like pat yourself on the back after a day where you feel like you've done good work but maybe not got a win, where you came from a spot where winning, like to come from a spot where like even winning not good enough, with more to do, more to win, I need to get more, to a point now where you're going, even if I don't have a good day, I can still look in on myself and see that I, okay, I performed the task that I want to do. Talk a little bit about that journey, like, how long did it take you to get to this point, and is it a daily thing that you need to work on, or?
I'm still working on it, but I've done a lot of like meditation to try to be able to register, to pull things a little bit away, because sometimes I was so caught up in my own thoughts that I couldn't see what was reality and what was really what I just made up in my mind.
Very good.
But yeah, it's taken a lot of work. I've seen like a psychologist as well to get to work on just me. Like I had to, because I've seen obviously a lot of sport mental coaches and stuff, but I need to also see someone for myself. So I had that, who's Emily and who's Emily the golf player. I had to be able to make that difference. That was really important for me to I can have a bad day on the golf course, but I've done my work. I've got my values as a person that I still stand for, and I'm still okay after a bad day's work. Obviously it affects me because it takes up a lot of my time, obviously, like it does with all professional golfers. It is the time where you're just Emily or you're just someone else is very small, which is why I think it's also important to be yourself and to let go, because otherwise I got so caught up in just golf all the time that I couldn't make a difference from a good day on the golf course, a good person, a bad day on the golf course, and a bad person.
That's a massive one, and I think definitely for the young kids that might watch this, or people that are early in their career, you see that a lot where the sport consumes you at times, doesn't it? Like you become your score,
Yeah, exactly.
you become like, you're not a person anymore. You're just this person that plays golf, and how you're doing at this sport defines who you are. What advice would you give to somebody, like maybe like a kid who's 16, 17, 18, or somebody who's just starting on their professional career, who feels that they might have that problem where they're not, they can't see who they are outside of their sport? Like, what have you learned to help you in that area?
I've learned to value obviously you need to work hard, and it takes a lot of hours to be good at golf. It just does. It's never going to be half golf, half time off, because that won't get you all the way to the top. It might get you far. But I spent some time, maybe take some time off. If you have doubt in who you are, figure out who are the people around you that are there for you, who gives you good energy, who doesn't, and the people that just take from you, you need to get rid of them, or they need to change, because golf takes so much energy that you can't have people that also take energy from you. It needs to lift you up. It needs to be a space where you can be like, oh, this is just, I'm just me now. You can talk to those people and be like, do you know what, I'm really frustrated about this, but then it needs to get over it. You need to have, I had to give myself an hour, like, okay, you have an hour from you're done with your practice, you have an hour from you're done with your golf to evaluate, to maybe write down the things, what are you mad about, what do you want to work on, and then close the day and then have fun. I remember I was playing the LPGA. I just missed my 7th cut, and we had this big dinner with friends. Like, we were all going out. I think Nicole was there, a lot of the other players, a lot of the caddies. We were all going out for this dinner, and I've just missed the cut. And I've been in this circle of just bad weeks, and one of my friends yelled at me from across on the end, because I want to shout myself out, so I'm all the way in the end. Jeff, this guy's yelling the other way in the end, and he just yells at me, Emily, you are not your effing scorecard. And then he just chill out. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's right. Because that was one of the things that was also, okay, I'm not my scorecard. Something else. All these people still want to hang out with me, still want to have fun, even though I've played bad. And you need to be able to make that change. I think it's okay when you're in your work environment, with your coaches, when you're evaluating, when you're with your caddy, when you're with physio. I want to get better. I'm frustrated. I didn't do good enough. Why is this not working? Be critical, be hard there. But then after, be good to yourself. Be your own best friend, because no one else is going to do it for you. You know, if you keep bringing yourself down, it takes a lot of people to bring you back up.
And it's going to take a lot of energy for those people to bring you back up. And you know, I suppose the thing there is, like, they, you know, the energy that they might spend bringing you back up could be energy that could be spent actually building you up from a better place to begin with, right? If you
Exactly.
exactly. That's it. I think that's an amazing one. And I think it's obviously, like, you know, you came out on LET, you won on LET, you got your LPGA card pretty quickly, you got on the Solheim Cup pretty quickly. And it's been a bit of a struggle over the last couple of years in terms of score. But on the flip side of that, it does seem like these last two years or so have taught you a huge amount about yourself.
Yeah, they have 100%. They have taught, like, I feel like I'm a better place now. I'm more ready to be a golfer. Like, I don't think I was fully ready. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's like, you need to be ready to 1 second, sorry, I just need a charger. You need to be ready to travel alone, to take the punches you get in the face. And I don't think I was, because very young, I hadn't met a lot of struggles. You know, it always kind of came easy to me. I won as an amateur. I got on my first season on LET. I won the first season. I became Rookie of the Year. The next year, I got the LPGA card. The year after, I got on the Solheim. So it's like, it kept going upwards. It kept going like this, and then suddenly it just crashed and was like a new way of not performing.
And just recently there, you won that tournament against like the guys and the girls and stuff like that in Denmark, which is obviously you're competing against like just Danish players, but really good Danish players at the same time. And probably it had it had been a while since you were in a, I suppose, in contention and in a position to win a tournament, regardless of what that tournament is. How did that feel, and how did that feel off the back of the last couple of years, and all that kind of stuff? What was the like your emotions and all that kind of stuff like during that event?
It felt so great to win again. I'd actually played an amateur event the week before, and I'd won that, and I was leading with like three holes to play, and I got so nervous because I was like, whoa, my heart's pumping like it was pumping when I was scared of missing cuts, but this is the good way, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like your heart's gonna pump. But I got nervous and I made 3 bogeys on the last 3 and had to get in the playoff, and was like so new for me, and I was caught up in my own feelings. But then it came to the men's event, the Echo Tour event, and I've never been this calm. I was so focused on what I had to do, what shots I tried to see, that I wasn't even sure about the scores. I knew it was close, but when we came to 17, we were even, and I didn't know, but I was like, I'm seeing this shot. I want to place it here because that's the easy part, and I nailed the shot, made the birdie, went on 18, and I two-putted, and I was like, oh, I think we're in the playoff now. And then they were like, congrats, and I was like, I've never ever tried being so caught up in my own process, in what I have to do, that I wasn't aware of the scores, because obviously on the LPGA there's scoreboards you can look at, but we didn't have that at this event. So I was like, and I didn't keep track of the other players, so I was like, oh, I won. And it was such a great feeling, and that state of mind, you can like win on all tours if you just, things don't get to you, what others people don't do get to you, but you just, it's about what I have to do, because at the end of the day and at the end of the round, that's always what's, you can only control what you do. Like if you make a bogey but you did your best, that's golf. The other guys make 4 birdies coming in, that's well done, but you've still done your best.
It's funny, that win is kind of like a microcosm of what you've been learning over the last while, whereby you got your win by focusing on you and doing what you needed to do and turning off all the noise and stuff. You weren't evaluating yourself against the other players on that day. You were just doing what you needed to do, and then at the end it turned out to be a win. But it sounds like if it had turned out to be a one-shot loss, you wouldn't have been that upset either.
No, because I wouldn't have been, I could not put a finger on anything. That I couldn't say you got too caught up, you took too big of a risk there because you made a mistake. I there was nothing I could say. I literally did the best I could on every single hole. It was that perfect balance between being on cruise control and then stopping up and being like, this is a tricky situation, I need to think here, and then switching back to just being in flow. It was that state of mind I want to be in every week, because then I believe you can win.
Could you put your finger on anything in the build up to that? Was it like, maybe even the week before in the amateur event you played in, that kind of set you up to get into that state of flow, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it was good that I had to deal with the win before, because I was like, whoa, I'm too caught up in my feelings right now, and I needed to work a little bit on, okay, you can't, it's fine to be nervous, and just register, okay, I'm a little nervous, but then what do you have to do? So to that, because you're never going to get rid of being nervous. On if it's on the first tee, if it's on the back nine, leading a tournament, you're always going to have feelings, but it's like registering, okay, I'm feeling, and I'm maybe saying it out loud to myself, I'm nervous, and then, but that doesn't mean I can't do my stuff. Just make it clear to yourself, what do you need to do? Because I was really nervous on the first tee, that I had to play with Nikolai, who's playing super well, of the guys, and there was a lot of eyes on me because obviously I was a girl in the leading group in a guys event, so I was super nervous, and I had to go to myself on the tee. I'm nervous. I said it out loud to myself, and then then I said, it's okay to be nervous, and then but what do you have to do? So I actually asked myself questions out loud, and I'm glad I was teeing off a little bit forward because people would have thought I was mental, because I was just standing there having a proper conversation with myself, but it helped. And it's like, you can be nervous, you can feel scared, you can feel whatever, but just what do you have to do still? Just make it clear, but I still have to do this. I still have to hit the fairway. Still have to hit the right part of the green. Still have to read the putt. I still have to hit it at this pace. And then it kind of calms it down a little bit. It maybe goes from 10 to 8, but it gives it just that little bit of help that makes you able to do your things.
It sounds like your meditation practice has helped you a lot with that kind of stuff, because the ability,
Yeah.
meditation, being able to register a thought, know that the thought doesn't mean reality. What does your meditation practice look like now? What, if you don't mind sharing that?
I meditate a lot during the event, so I meditate once a day, like 15 minutes, but then I also you can do the switch off where you like
Sorry, Emily, we lost you
really.
there.
Sorry.
It broke down on this side. So I missed from basically when I asked the question about the meditation. So
Yeah,
if you
so I
could tell us
said
again.
I meditate mostly during the tournament week. So I meditate every day, like 10 to 15 minutes. But then I also meditate in the warm up, or
Right.
so like I do my stretches in the locker room, and then I do like a short 3-minute meditation just to kind of switch on that. Okay, get the breath, get the body calm, and then what do you need to focus on? So I do that. And then I've been using on the course when I get nervous, is like this called mindful walking. It's kind of, if I get too caught up in my feelings, I do the complete opposite. So I'm like maybe walking down the fairway, closing my eyes. Okay, what sounds can I hear? How does the grass feel under my feet? How does the wind feel touching my face or my skin, or stuff like that? Really just get out to then get in again, because that helps me like relax a bit. That it's nothing to do with me. I'm just focused on all the sounds outside, all the feelings, and then trying to get back into what I need to do.
That must be amazingly helpful from, like, I remember like having watched you play lots of times at tournaments. If things were going really well, you could just keep them going really well. You'd be like a machine in terms of like going forward and winning. But
Yeah,
if things were going badly, it would often in times it used to like go bad for it used to take you long to get out of that
yeah,
funk, let's say.
exactly.
Has that, I presume that like that body of work you've done on that must have helped a lot.
Yeah, it has. But I think everything, the whole mindset of just being like, that's okay, and then registering what happened. Just why did I make a bogey? Ask yourself that question. Okay, I hit a bad shot. Why did I hit a bad shot? Well, shit happens. Kind of. It was just a bad movement. You still need to do the same thing. Or was I too greedy in the decision? Was I not ready to hit the shot? And just be like, that's it. That you put like a pin on it and then throw it away, but it's still the same things I need to do next. Has helped me to like kind of stop it, not get too caught up in myself.
And then I suppose what are you most excited about over the, I know it's obviously been a weird time for us, and we've the pandemic and stuff like that, and but we still have opportunities to play, and this won't be around forever. What are you most excited about, like both in terms of you as a professional and obviously future events that you're going to play in? What's exciting you about the coming?
I'm just so excited to play. I'm so excited to compete. And it's like I've been 2 years where I've been like, I just hated it. And now I'm just like, longing to get out there, longing to feel my heart pump. And in the past, I've been like, I don't want that feeling at all. Like, I'd rather miss the cut by 10 and not be nervous about the cut than be on the line, you know? And now I want that adrenaline, and I want that. And I'm so excited because I feel like I've maybe matured a little bit. I know my values a little bit more. I know what I want to stand for. I know what I want to do every day in my practice, and I know I want to get better. But that said, it doesn't mean I don't get frustrated. I get frustrated because now I feel like I'm in a good place and I have nowhere to play. I've got nowhere to compete. And was it a year ago or 2 years ago and this pandemic had hit me, I was like, thank God I don't have to play now. And now I'm like, I want to play. So that's obviously frustrating, but I think I'm in a good place. And that helps me, I think.
And then, okay, like a final question would be, what if you could go back? If you could go back to like your 16, 17-year-old self and give her some advice, what would it be?
That's always a tough one. I would say that know the difference between who you are as a golfer, who you are outside, and then don't stress. Like when things get bad, kind of embrace it a little bit. Try and learn about yourself when things hit, instead of wanting to push them away, wanting to avoid them, because that's what I did in 2018 when things started to go really bad for me. I kept playing more and more and more because I thought, oh, maybe out of nowhere I'll play good and it will all be over. Like, stop having that naive kind of mindset that I had. Like, just be like, okay, try and be curious about, why is it going bad? Is it just a bad bump? Am I doing things wrong? Do I need to change things? That's what I wish. I wish I would have been more curious. I wish I would have dealt with things hard on a little bit more, instead of trying to deny that it's going bad, or trying to come up with excuses and trying to make it go away by doing nothing, instead of actually figuring out what's happening.
And it's funny. Obviously it's a strange one, but I'm not sure you would necessarily. Certainly, when we look back at it in maybe a few more years' time, but even now, even though the last 2 years are a struggle, have been. I'm not sure necessarily you would change anything because of what seems like you've learned as a result of them.
Exactly, and it's so easy to say that you should just deal with it hard on, because when you're in it, it's so difficult and it's like, it's hard. But if you can chill out the best you can, if you can try and deal with it, that's better, because there's one thing that is for certain: if you want to be a professional golfer, if you want to be a professional athlete, if you want to get to the top in anything, you are going to meet struggles. There's no doubt about that. But I think what defines who becomes great from who becomes good and who gets through the tough patches are the people that deal with it, and the people that learn from it, and the people that are in a better place when they hit it again. Because I feel like I'm on my way up, and hopefully I'll get in, but then I know I'll meet struggles again, because I see my career being long. But then I feel like I'm more prepared to deal with it, and it might not take me 2-3 years to get out of it. It might take me 6 months or a year, and then I'll be better for that.
Well, I think that's as good a note as any to finish our little chat on. Like, thanks a million. I know I learned, even though we've always been working together for a long time now, I know I learned a lot from that. So I hope everybody who watches it learns something as well.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Have a great day. Be nice to
Thank
Ollie.
you.
I know he's over there with you. I hope he's having a good time in Denmark. And tell him I
He's
said
still
hello.
sleeping. I will.
We'll wake him up and tell him to get up and enjoy the rest of the day. All right, Emily.
I know.
Later. Bye.
See ya. Bye.